Hello. Welcome to the debate, if you can call it that. It was more like me just explaining stuff to someone that seemingly didn't know anything about it. And I find this sad because often, I'll assume that when they asked to debate 9/11, they assumed that I was going to be some loose chains, Alex Jones type kook talking about physics and bombs and whatever. And they had no idea what I was actually going to say, and were not prepared for anything at all. It's just, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Can I have a source? That seemed to be the only defense they had. So, live, I have to go and Google all the stuff I'm saying and show them. It's so lazy. I'm like, just take the names I'm saying and Google them. This isn't hidden like it was 20 years ago. This is out there and has been out there for a long time. But anyway, this was the September 11th debate I did on the 12th or 13th. I don't remember. Oh, also, the uncensored kill stream is up on ANC Report right now. It's almost 2 hours long, and about an hour and a half was on September 11th, and then Patrick Little joined in and started talking about how people recruit or try to recruit others for false flags, and it got into a little bit of a taboo area. We ended up talking about everything from the Norway mass shooter to Oklahoma City bombing, and I could see Ralph starting to melt in his chair, and the worry was palpable on his face that D-Live was going to oven him. So, good on him to take precautions and cut that out, but he sent me the entire thing, which I've put on BitChute because I couldn't get brand new tube to work today. So I stuck it up on BitChute, and then it is embedded on ANC Report for artisans and above. Brett is moderating right now. If you want to get an Epstein map, you can. If you'd like to chime in and ask a question about whatever, but in particular September 11th, please do so. This is the link to do that. It's in the sidebar if you're watching live. entropystream.live/ANC report. That is how you ask questions, because YouTube will not allow us to have super chats. It's just a little bit too truthful up in here. And we're not the only ones anymore. Used to be. Now they're going after everyone, any conservative, any libertarian, any Democrat now too. If you're not part of the extremely far corporate left, then Silicon Valley will give you the axe. So without further ado, here is the debate. I've added some photographs because they're asking me to go and find the newspapers and stuff live as I'm describing it, which is ridiculous. Like, if I had a guy in the chair, I'd be like, just pull that up, but I don't. I have a tech guy, but he's in the middle of moving between two different cities, so I've been doing ANC solo for this whole week, actually. Great of him to move during 9/11, but it is what it is. So I'll let you listen to that, and I have some clips at the end that I thought I would add as well about van bombs and so on. I was debating T-Jump or J-Trump or something like that. I don't know. When someone asks me to debate, I just say sure. I think it was T-Jump. Like, when I debated Destiny, I didn't know he was an influencer. I thought he was like some handicapped guy that call out found because they couldn't find anyone to take Hillary's side, and they really didn't, because he didn't like Hillary either. He just hated Trump more than he hated her, and I didn't like Trump. I just hated Hillary more than Trump. So it was like anti-Trump versus anti-Hillary. With all the advertising and everything they had, they could not find a single Hillary Clinton supporter to debate me. I still don't think you could. You couldn't get a Bernie person either. Because they know what would happen, and they know how it would look. Like, the only way they can control the narrative is to not have a dialogue. They just preach and censor the other side, right? And that's, 9/11. The only thing that they allowed to be disseminated is the kook stuff. Millions of views on all the retarded things about dew weapons and nanothermite and a bomb on every floor or every window, and denial of airplanes and missiles hitting Building 6 or the Pentagon or Flight 93. All the stupid is allowed to be wildly disseminated. The algorithms kick it into high gear. Everyone's seen all that. Everyone saw loose change. Everyone saw everything that was wrong. But when I come out with War by Deception and Empire en Masse, hit the brakes. We don't want that, because it actually makes sense and it's telling the truth, and it names the people, the culprits, in a very specific way, not as just sort of like they or the Illuminati or the NWO or the globalist or compartmentalization, blah, blah, criminal elements, or Luciferians or the elite or the deep state or any of these other meaningless terms that don't give you specific names, actions, documents, nothing. It's just basically saying they did it. I have a super chat, a shekel chat from Fire Pixie. Says, hey Ryan, you know I love you, but it was so great to see Scott today. That's all I wanted to say. Yeah, I had Scott on 2 days in a row. He was on Brand New Tube with me for a couple hours, or he was there for the first hour. And then yesterday, my time, I'm on Asian time zones, he was back on the show. I'm trying to encourage him to be a regular guest and start a Dawson and Dawson podcast. Pug is very busy. He has like a new job thing and some other stuff, so he's not gone, but we can't do the daily stuff that we were doing. So that's why you should enjoy it while things happen. We had Dar for a while, we had Pug for a while. They'll both be back now and then. Josh filled in for a bit, and I'm trying to get Scott to get in on the regular as well, because he knows a lot of historical things and we can bounce stuff off each other like identical twins can do. So only twins can do, maybe. The Jackson twins had a great interview, by the way. Jackman, excuse me, not Jackson. The Jackman twins. I would like to go back on that show again. I mean, in fact, they actually used a report by one of the twins about Jeb Bush and his running of drugs and the, Rudy Deckers and all that, saying Hanger couldn't fly, blah, blah, blah. And I brought that up in their interview, and then later found out that they had broken one of the stories on that back in the day. So that's pretty cool. Any other shekel chats before we get this debate going? Because otherwise you're going to have to wait about an hour before me to answer you. I'll give you some time because I know there's lag on here. By the way, we've got memberships on ANC. $5 you get all the MP3s, so you don't have to watch a video and use up your bandwidth or whatever if you're outside and you just want to listen. $10 unlocks all the woodsheds, all the Civil War talks, and all the MP3s, and also the uncensored kill stream. And it gets better as you go up. Spud McKenzie for 3 says, glad to finally make a live stream. Here's a token of appreciation for you, Ryan. Thank you, Spud. I appreciate that. Glad you can catch them live. I'm trying to do them at different times of the day and night to hit all the time zones for people. I thought I'd do this one today, morning time for me, evening for the East Coast. I hope the West Coast is able to make it, but you don't have to watch live. You can always catch it on the replay as well. Just won't be able to ask any questions. So this one's going to be about an hour, folks, and then I got some clips to add to the end. It was a complete beatdown, and the comment section on their YouTube was just relentlessly savage. But I think that T-Jump was not being dogmatic. He was just in way over his head, and I believe I convinced him of the Saudi role. And as soon as he sees the documents on the Israelis, he'll have to concede that too, although I don't think he will, because when it comes to Israel, a lot of these people they could stand on stage and eat a baby and they'd still make excuses. So anyway, here you go. Everything I say in this is factual and documented. Oh, one from Sean Price says, hey Ryan, do you think they will ever release all the papers so we can finally find out if it was a missile or not? We already found out it's a plane because there's pieces of the plane in the building. I mean, there's not a secret. It's a fucking plane. There's a big plane-sized hole. There's landing gear in front of the C-ring. They even have DNA from all the passengers that the pathologists gathered up and that stored at Walter Reed. There's nothing to release. It's a plane. There is zero evidence or motive for a missile. Please just go fuck yourself. Like, you cannot possibly be that goddamn stupid in 2020 to still wonder whether or not there was an airplane. Horsecock Johnson sends a thumbs up. Thank you, Horace. All right, let's get this thing going. And if any penitard wants to debate, I would love that more than anything. It's just I know you're a bunch of trolls. That's why you won't get on Skype and you won't do these debates, because you'd get embarrassed. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom.
Today we're debating whether or not 9/11 was an inside job, and we're starting right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for another epic debate. We hope that you're doing well, and if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, want to let you know we are a neutral platform hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. And so want to let you know, no matter what walk of life you are from, folks, no matter what your views or lack of views are, no matter what demographics you are, we really do want to let you know we hope you feel welcome. We're glad to have you here. And it's going to be a fun one tonight. So want to let you know one quick, you could say, housekeeping thing about the channel before we do get the ball rolling is that if you are sick in the head like us and you love juicy debates like this, consider hitting that subscribe button as we have many more juicy debates coming up in the future. And want to let you know for tonight's debate, it's going to be pretty easygoing, more of a discussion rather than our common opening statements. It's basically going to start with Tom just kind of asking Ryan what his position is. Then we'll give Ryan enough time, as much as he needs, to state his position, and then right into open conversation. If you have a question, feel free to fire it into the old live chat. If you tag me with @ModernDayDebate, it makes it easier for me to get every single question into that list for the Q&A. Super chats are also an option, which will bump your question up to the top of the list. And very excited, want to let you know, folks, I would put the links of the speakers in the description. So that way, if you're listening and you're like, hey, I want to hear more of Tom, or I want to hear more of Ryan, you can hear more of these guys by clicking on those links below. So with that, we're going to start with Tom, just asking Tom, what could people, if this is their first time hearing about you, what could people expect to find at your link in the description below?
I do debates and discussions about the existence of God and philosophy and stuff with different professors from around the world. That's usually my main thing. And I also do debates on other channels and mirror them over, like on Modern Day Debates. So you can also find all of those debates here, especially the ones where I destroyed James in a debate. Those are the most interesting. You can check those out on my channel. He doesn't put them on his channel, so just, you know.
He's got a good sense of humor. You can find those debates where I took Tom to the woodshed. Those are actually open and available on this channel. So, with that, we're going to kick it over to Ryan. Ryan, thanks so much for being here. First time here. If you want to let people know what people could expect to find by clicking on your links, which are in the description, glad to hear it.
Well, my website's mainly an anti-war channel, but also recently we've been covering the Epstein saga and everything in there from Syria to Libya to you name a conflict with terrorists, with war. That's what we're covering on the anti-neocon report. It's kind of self-explanatory in the name. Anti-neocon is everything the opposite of neocons right now. And of course, we're covering the presidential election this year somewhat, but it's mostly an anti-war channel. I do have some documentaries about September 11th. I made my own because the ones I saw were just so, well, stupid that I thought I had to go in there and clear it up.
Gotcha. Thank you for being so real. Appreciate that. And so with that, we will kick it into the kind of portion where Tom will start asking just to get a feel for where Ryan stands. And then, like I said, Ryan will have plenty of time to answer, and then we'll go into open discussion. So thanks so much. The floor is yours.
All right, so my position on 9/11 is just the classical approach that it was done by Osama bin Laden, terrorist organization, ISIS, those ISIS after. But so what is your position on 9/11?
I think I'd 90% agree. I think Al-Qaeda did 9/11. I think where we might differ is that I don't believe Al-Qaeda was or has ever been wholly independent of intelligence agencies. And in fact, the Mujahideen splinter group that it was created from was fostered by the CIA, and they admit that, and we know that. And I believe we had foreknowledge of the attacks because our own FBI documents and CIA reports admit as much.
All right, so for the knowledge, the pre-knowledge, I mean, there's definitely thousands and thousands of reported terrorist threats all the time. So we don't take them all as credible. So we did have knowledge that there were threats of this thing, but we didn't think they were credible at the time. So if that you count as knowledge, I would agree in that sense.
It's way more specific than that.
How so?
Well, for example, two of the 9/11 hijackers, Nawif al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Midhar, were tracked by the CIA to a Al-Qaeda summit meeting in Malaysia where they met Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the uncle of Ramzi Youssef, who was the plotter of the 1993 World Trade Center attack with the Ryder truck, who was later imprisoned, and they found his plans to attack with commercial airliners. And now they followed these people to a cell in California where they live with a Saudi gid agent, and they're going to flight schools. I can't imagine the CIA couldn't put together that people meeting with the uncle of the World Trade Center plotter who wanted to hit with commercial airliners, going to flight schools. We're not going to use commercial airliners to attack in the United States. Furthermore, we know that Bandar Bush and Turki bin Fasil through Haifa and Moby Duquette, through two intermediaries, Omar Bayoumi and Osama Basnan, were giving logistical support, bought an apartment for, and gave money to September 11th hijackers. And they refused to share this information with the FBI until August of 2001. Now that's either insane incompetence or it's on purpose.
Who refused to give this to the FBI?
The CIA.
Do you have any evidence the CIA knew of this somehow? Like,
yeah, everything I just said. I mean, I couldn't make that up if I tried. Like, we have the Senate investigation. It's called the JIS report, the Joint Inquiry Investigation into September 11th. That's not the 9/11 Commission. And a lot of it's redacted, but a lot of it got unredacted just around 2014 or 15, can't recall. There was a nice 28-page consecutive redacted section that they unredacted, which Thomas Massey and our own congressman and things went in and put a lot of pressure on to reveal this information. And it shows that September 11th hijackers, who the CIA had tracked to talk to KSM, they spent the night with them, in fact, were living openly with their real names in California. These are known terrorists, by the way, the USS Cole bombing. And the CIA refused to share this information. This is part of why later they wanted to have the Patriot Act, and they wanted to have more of what the Department of Homeland Security was created so that it could bridge all these intelligence agencies together and share information.
Well, they definitely have lots and lots of information. I don't think like was the FBI asking for this information prior to it? Like when you say they refused to share it, it doesn't sound right to me. It just seems like they were probably investigating lots of things and didn't share everything. But even if what you're saying is true, none of that actually seems to be like evidence that we knew of the 9/11 attack. It just seems like,
But it's already not just the official story because you have state sponsorship of 9/11 terrorists through Saudi Arabia already because they're giving them money and
where,
logistical support. And we
how,
definitely knew it after the fact and still haven't admitted this.
you didn't say we didn't give any evidence that somehow
Because
the state supported
because
the
Bandar
9/11.
Bush and Prince Turki bin Fasil through Princess Haifa wired money through Riggs Bank to 9/11 hijackers through two Saudi intermediaries, and our own FBI admits that.
Okay, but what does that have to do with us? Like people wire money all the time to all kinds of people. Like the fact that
Because the
we did
official
it, it's not
story is there was
state.
no state sponsorship and that Osama bin Laden did this all by himself from plotting in Afghanistan.
I don't have an objection to that. Like, definitely, I can see that there's lots of organizations that sponsor terrorists all the time. The Saudis
Hmm.
definitely sponsor terrorists.
They
I don't
still do
object
it
to
now. They
that.
do it with ISIS in Syria.
Yeah, they all do. That it's not American state. It's like definitely terrorist states sponsor terrorists.
It's not America. That's our intermediary. I mean, that's how we sponsored them to begin with. And when Al Qaeda was created, the Saudis created a bank in Pakistan called BCCI, which was the money laundering front for terrorist organizations. Just like Ollie North admitted during Iran Contra, you can't just go to Congress and say, "Can I have $1 billion to arm terrorists?" They're going to say no. They usually use the off the books budgets of illegal narcotics traffic, which the CIA has been caught over and over again selling cocaine, and they use that to pay for a lot of these things. But the Saudi royals in particular, are our conduit to terrorist groups. It's modern privateering. It's been like that since the 70s.
I don't know what you're talking about there. So I know that we know the U.S. government did create many like insurgent, what we call like freedom fighter kinders to fight against different in, leaders in
Yeah,
different
Reagan's
countries.
freedom fighters to fight the
And,
Soviets was the
and
diaspora unit in
but
Afghanistan is
they
what Al Qaeda
and
is.
then they became terrorist organizations. But we didn't create the terrorist organizations. We just
They're
created the
already
freedom
terrorists.
fighters.
They're doing
Well,
terrorist
right,
acts to
right. So
Soviets in Afghanistan.
we funded them in order specifically to fight against the dictators of those time periods, and we stopped funding them after those periods. So it's not like we're still funding these
Yeah,
people.
we didn't stop funding them. That's the problem.
Where's your evidence of that?
I mean, we still have ISIS in Syria. I mean, John McCain met with Ral al Sham, took photo ops
Okay.
with him. These people machine gun women up against walls and murdered children. But up until that moment, they were on the State Department's list under Hillary Clinton as moderate rebels, and everyone knew otherwise.
Donald Trump took pictures of Kim Jong Un. So I mean, yes,
Kim
political
Jong
figures
Un's the
take
head of
pictures.
state that he was negotiating with. I mean, that's different than Ral al Sham. Very
Pretty
different.
sure he was there to negotiate with him for something, but none of
Yeah,
that
they're
is
trying to
evidence that
get rid
we
of
were still
Korea's nuclear weapons, and
right.
they
But none of
failed
that's
because of
evidence we
John
were actually
Bolton.
funding the like ISIS or Al Qaeda to do 9/11. Like we funded them before to get rid of the
Hmm.
dictators,
We
but
funded them
we weren't
before,
still
and we
funding
fund
them.
them after in Syria, but during the event we didn't. I'm saying we knew they were being funded and allowed it. And it wasn't only the Saudis that knew, the Israelis also knew. They were living next door to hijackers. They celebrated September 11th. They got interrogated. All of them had different stories from each other. There was even a van with explosives that the police found and was reported on the day of 9/11. There was a faulty call trying to blame Palestinians for making a bomb that was supposedly headed toward the World Trade Center. All of these things have been whitewashed by the 9/11 kook movement that thinks there's a bomb on every floor and thermite and dew weapons and whatever nonsense. But, I disagree with all that. My contention is we know that our allies, intelligence agencies, had foreknowledge of September 11th. We also have testimony from Norman Mineta, the transportation secretary, who was in the POC bunker with Dick Cheney, because Flight 77 went to the Pentagon twice. The pilot, Hanji Hanjar, was coming in too high in altitude to hit the Pentagon, so he made a big loop, came at it a second time, and was successful the second time, which means we had two chances to shoot it down. But the orders, according to Mineta, Cheney whipped his neck around and said the orders still stand. They would not allow them to shoot the plane down. You could say, well, they're just reluctant to shoot a plane because it's a commercial plane with people on it. But this is already after two had hit in New York. And so it's either incompetence or he let it happen on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably not allow shooting a plane down full of hundreds of civilians either. I'd probably be against that also. Um, but so far, all you seem to have said is that we used to fund terrorists, or we used to fund organizations which became high terrorist organizations against us, which yeah, I agree with, but we didn't fund the actual terrorist organization to get to 9/11. Like this wasn't an
Hmm.
American inside job at all. It's like we funded terrorist organizations to fight against dictators, and then they turned against us, which is happens all the time, unfortunately, which is why we shouldn't do that.
That's not all I said. I said specifically that we had foreknowledge of them meeting Al
Right, right.
Qaeda, which had
So
already blown up embassies in Africa, right? They're already terrorists. They've already attacked the United States long before 9/11. So we're supposed to have eyes and ears on these people. Did allowed them to live with the real names and continue to get money and logistical support from an ally, and then redacted the information about that for over 13 years because it was going to embarrass Bush because Bandar Bush had such a close relationship with the Bush family. But they gave money to 9/11 hijackers. Saudi Arabia had state support for Al Qaeda, and we know that. And there's been no
so
consequence for it.
so again, so all you've said is that America has funded an organization that became terrorists. They didn't knowingly cause terrorism. They didn't knowingly cause 9/11. And then Saudi Arabia funded the
My
terrorists, which
position is not
yes,
that
but
America attacked itself. My
right,
position is
right.
just not
So
the official story. My position is that foreign intelligence agencies were sponsoring Al Qaeda
well,
and that
that's the part I'm
America
just
knew about it
disagreeing
and
with.
didn't
So
do
we don't.
anything.
So the part I'm like the classic story. I don't see how anything you're saying disagrees with the classical position. We know Saudi Arabia funds terrorism. We know that we create organizations that become terrorists. We didn't allow the wire transfer. We didn't like wire transfers aren't something that's always monitored by the government in every case to stop them. Like there's lots of different cases where you can wire
We
transfer to.
allowed their visas to be in the U.S. in the first place. They're on a no-fly list. They shouldn't have even got into the country, much less been wired money.
Yes, I agree. But again, that's something we allow lots of people to have visas. So the
Not
problem is
terrorists
that
in Al Qaeda that we had just
right.
tracked staying the night with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind and uncle of a person that attacked in 1993.
Right. So I'm pretty sure that
They
if
are on the
if
highest
we
list. They're on Interpol's most wanted. These are the most wanted people in the world. They should never have gotten inside the United States.
right, and people get in the United States all the time, and we don't realize it. So again, I don't think there was a knowingly allowing them to come in, knowing they were terrorists. So
I
that does
mean, they
not seem
used
to
they
be.
didn't even change their names or anything, and they
Again,
were
so
living there for months.
I don't see any evidence of the CIA knowingly letting them into the United States. That you haven't provided.
It's not my fault that you don't know about the evidence. I mean, you need to
Could you
research it
present
more.
some?
Like nothing I'm
Could
saying
you
is
present
false.
some? Like, could you present the evidence? Present the evidence. Like you just
I
said
can
there
give you
is.
whatever documents you like.
Go
Not
for it.
right immediately, but whatever you want, I can give them to the host. Been over
Uh,
it ad nauseum. People know these
could
things.
could you produce
And
one of
furthermore,
them right
and then
now?
we had a van full of explosives.
Wait,
It was
wait, wait.
reported
I
by
still
Rick
want.
Sanchez and Pat Dawson on September 11th itself. It was never explained.
So again, all I've heard is you make assertions, but you haven't presented any actual evidence to support the
What do
assertions.
you want? Do you want me to go find the clip of them reporting about the van? Because I can do it if you give me some
I don't care
time.
about the van. I want to know. You said the CIA allowed these terrorists into the country knowingly. I want evidence of
Mm-hmm.
that. Show me.
All right. Well, go you look up Nawaf Al Hazmi and
Uh,
Khalid Al Midhar
I don't. I don't want to
entering
look
the
it up.
United States.
Could you look it up and then show me which part of that qualifies as
I'm
evidence?
not going to do that. I can do everything later that you want because I've already documented all this stuff.
Right. That's why I'm asking you. Since you've already documented it, you should know where this is. Like I'd have to go through all of it to try
Well,
and
I
find
did it in
this.
2014. I mean, I can go on Google and start looking for these things. If this is so, are you going to have an excuse, or are you going to acknowledge that this is a big fuck up at minimal?
For sure. Like if you actually have evidence that the
I
CIA
certainly
let these
do.
people in knowingly, yes, that is a huge fuck up.
While this is being looked up, want to let you know, folks, if you haven't heard, we have invaded the podcast world. You can find us on your favorite podcast. If you can't find us, let us know. We'll work hard to get on there. My secretary, Tom Jump, will be sure to connect us to that podcast. So. But yes, I want to remind you folks, both of our guests are linked in the description. So if you're enjoying this, both Tom and Ryan are linked below.
I had to resubscribe to the New York Times.
So what were their names? Like how do you spell them?
Khalid Al Midhar, KHALID space Al MIHDHAR and Nawif Al Hazmi NAWAF Al HAZMI. Yes, there's 9/11 families in a lawsuit about this as well. Forgot about that.
That'd be great. We can find out from them if this is actually legitimate, because we'll find out in the lawsuit.
The intermediaries were named Omar Bayumi and Osama Basnan. I just did lazy Wikipedia because it's the fastest thing I can find live.
I'm cool with that.
On January 15th, 2000, after attending a 2000 Al-Qaeda summit meeting in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, that's Sana, future 9/11 hijackers Nawaf Hazmi and Khalid al-Midhar flew to Bangkok to Thailand to Los Angeles. Al-Bayumi reportedly helped these two hijackers settle in the United States during this period. Hold on. Goes over 9 militia report stuff. Let's see. I want to get to the part with the CIA denying the FBI. Hold on.
Yeah, I think I found it. So it seems like regarding the CIA's refusal to inform the FBI about Midhar and Hamzi, author Lawrence Wright suggests the CIA wanted to protect its turf and was concerned about giving sensitive intelligence to FBI agent John P. O'Neill, who
and he died on September 11th.
Described as duplicitous. Wright also suspects that the CIA may have been protecting intelligence operatives overseas and might have been eyeing these two as recruitment targets to obtain intelligence on Al-Qaeda. So yeah, it's definitely a huge fuck up. I totally agree.
So the other theory is that some in the CIA may have been planning to flip them. That is like, okay, we get some people inside Al-Qaeda, but they're going to be our moles and a double agents, and they ended up being triple agents and stabbed them in the back. You can always have ad hoc hypotheses of like, oh, well, maybe this, maybe that. But the major fuck ups continue. And after so many in a row, it's like at some point you have to think, damn, are we that incompetent or is there some complicity here?
Well, I mean, Bush administration, yeah, I think they're that incompetent.
That's exactly. That's where it's like, well, I don't know. Bush may have been that dumb. But
yeah, so I mean, but which is
Dick
more
Cheney
plausible?
wasn't. But for me, what really pisses me off about 9/11, other than the obvious thousands of people being killed, is how it was erroneously attached to Iraq, who had nothing to do with 9/11. And there was a follow-up attack. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. There's a follow-up attack.
I agree. Everyone agrees.
Okay, okay. You're shaking your head. I was like, I hope you agree with that.
Yeah. So yeah,
there was an anthrax attack. Do you remember that? How somebody sent anthrax letters and it said September 11th on the top, death to America, death to Israel, get penicillin, whatever.
Sure.
And at first, the anthrax was assumed that, okay, Al-Qaeda followed up its airplane attack with a biological attack. And, well, later it was proven they didn't. But at first, that's what everyone assumed because it was sent from the location of the hijacker cells. So whoever sent the anthrax had to, at minimum, have known where Al-Qaeda was in Florida and where Al-Qaeda was in New Jersey because it hadn't been reported yet. They were kind of flushing that out. So it seemed like that's what they had done. And they sent anthrax to Tom Daschle and Patrick Leahy. And Patrick Leahy had just put an amendment out which would have ended military aid to Israel if it had passed. They tried to kill him. Somebody did. But then later, there was one of the bogus lies about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, all of which were lies. But one of the main ones was claiming that Iraq had passed anthrax to Al-Qaeda at a meeting in Prague. They said Mohammed Atta met senior Iraqi officials in Prague. William Safire wrote about that in the New York Times. It's called Atta Goes to Prague. It was in the Weekly Standard. Fred Barnes wrote about it.
Wait, I wanted to go back to what you said earlier. You said that the guy who wanted to defund military funding to Israel had anthrax sent to him. But I'm sure there's lots of reasons people would want him dead. That doesn't.
Well, what it was is, it could have been, but what it was is they weren't going to cut it military aid to Israel. It was conditional. If Israel would admit it had nuclear weapons and abide by NPT, then fine. But if they're not, we're not allowed to be aiding states that have nuclear bombs, which Israel does, unless they sign onto the non-proliferation treaty. Otherwise, our military aid for their conventional military can be offset to pay for their secret nuclear program. So
Right. I
that's
don't dispute any
specifically
of that. My claim here is that you implied that the
I'm going to imply
reason.
this because it says death to Israel on the notes, and it ends up being the Israelis that lie about the anthrax. So I'll get to that. But
Okay,
that's,
but
yeah, it
again,
could have been whatever reason they wanted to kill Patrick Leahy and they wanted Tom Daschle out too. But because these are the two senators, they sent lethal anthrax that had a catalyst added to it. So it wasn't like anthrax from dead cow or something. This was definitely made in the lab, which is why people thought it had to have had a state sponsor. And at first they assumed, okay, the state sponsor must be Iraq. And they made up this bullshit that Iraq met with Mohammed Atta in Prague and gave him anthrax. And the source of that, the Israeli security forces, claim to have witnessed this transfer. James Woolsey, the former DCI of the CIA, comes back with this information. None of it true, because there was no meeting in Prague. Iraq did not have anthrax, and neither did Al Qaeda. There were no mobile weapons labs. All of that was bull. But very interestingly, the woman that made up the lie about the mobile weapons labs was Judith Miller, got a hoax letter of anthrax. I mean, somebody sent her anthrax, but it wasn't really anthrax. It was some harmless powder. The problem is whoever sent the letter to Judith also sent the real anthrax to Daschle and Leahy, because the notes contained inside were identical. And there's no way you could know what the note said until it had been opened. And it wasn't open when they thought it was going to be, because all the planes got grounded after 9/11, so they didn't get into mail and they're behind and so on. So Judith Miller lies about mobile weapons labs. Then Colin Powell went to the UN holding up a mock file of anthrax. Remember this? Because the legal reason to invade Iraq is they were disobeying UN Resolution 1441, which stipulated they couldn't have WMDs, and anthrax is a WMD. And he pointed to a picture of cartoon labs, because they didn't have any real pictures because there were no labs. And that was why they went to Iraq, and they ended up murdering 100,000 people or so in Iraq over nothing.
yeah,
But it was the
everyone agrees with
Israelis.
this. So you said your position disagrees with the standard narrative, but yeah,
Well,
we
this
all
is the
agree that
thing.
Iraq was not
Well, we all
justified.
agree
There
that
were
Iraq didn't
no.
have WMDs, but what people don't know is that the origin of the lie about anthrax came from the Israelis, and it cannot be chalked up to incompetence, because it is impossible to witness an event where you think anthrax is being transferred to Mohammed Atta in Prague when Mohammed Atta was never in Prague, and neither was Iraq. And Iraq didn't have anthrax. So somebody who knew where the hijackers were located mailed anthrax from those locations, real anthrax that needs a state to create it. And it's not Iraq, but it says death to Israel on the notes.
So it doesn't need a state to create it. That's the first thing, is you can
It
create it
does
in a
need a
lab.
state to create this anthrax, because it had a catalyst added to it that made it much more powerful than standard anthrax. That's why
You
they
can add a
said it came
catalyst
from Fort
without.
Detrick, Maryland. At
You
the
can
end, they
you
said
can add a
Bruce Ivins
catalyst
made
without a
it.
government lab. There are many labs that can add a catalyst without a government lab. So
It's
that
possible that you could just be really good science lab underground somewhere and make anthrax and try to,
or steal it from
kill
somewhere.
Israel's enemies and send fake anthrax to Judith Miller for some reason.
But I'm still not here leading the connection here that you think Israel has anything to do with this. All I
Because
heard was
Israel was celebrating the attack, because Israel lied about Iraq, because all the other lies about Iraq also came from a cabal called the
well,
Office of
I don't
Special
think
Plans,
Israel
made
is
of
ever
Zionists.
celebrating the attack because again, 15%
Yeah.
of
Oh,
the
you don't know
victims
about this
were
either?
Jewish.
Damn. Yes,
Like
the Israelis
15%.
were. Yes, Israel was celebrating the attack. There were 5 Israelis, 3 Israelis actually, dancing, flicking lighters, hugging, giving each other's high fives, and filming the first plane hitting the World Trade Center. They
What is
picked
what
up
is
2 more
what is
later. You don't know about any of this yet?
what do those 5 Israelis have to do with like the Israeli government?
Well,
Or
they're working for the Israeli state in a front company. Their owner, Dominic Suter, fled the country. He's on the FBI's suspect list next to Osama bin Laden and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed as an official suspect of 9/11.
okay, but what evidence does that provide that the actual Israeli government had anything to do with this, or that they were celebrating the attack?
Because in their interrogation, they admitted the JA sent them there. And why the hell else are these guys? They've got thousands of dollars in cash. They work for an Israeli front company. They knew 9/11 was going to happen. Otherwise, they couldn't have been in position to film the plane hitting.
Lots of
They filmed the first plane hitting.
no,
No one
lots there
knew
were
that was about to happen.
again, that's not particularly compelling evidence that the Israeli government had anything to do with this.
You think, okay, just some Israelis happen to know exactly what Al Qaeda was going to do and be in position to film and celebrate it. And somehow, without a state, get the former director of the CIA to lie about anthrax in Iraq. It was the Israeli state. Two of them were already flagged on the counterintelligence database before they got arrested. Sivan Kurzberg and Paul Kurzberg, and they
Okay,
were
so
working for the Israeli state. Their
so
story
the
is
fact that they are working for the Israeli state doesn't mean that their actions in this instance were inspired by the Israeli state. Like there are lots of people who work for the Israeli state who can do criminal
okay.
actions too. So what is
Well,
your
they
evidence that this is
celebrated 9/11, and they're all
okay?
from Israel, and they
Okay.
worked for the Israeli government, and they were pretending like they worked at a moving company.
There are lots of Americans who work for American governments who do terrorist actions too, but that doesn't mean the American government caused the
We
action.
don't stand in front of it waiting for it to happen and film it and celebrate it after it happens, though.
No, so I can grant maybe that these people were complicit in 9/11 without
Yeah, it
saying
could.
they were
Yeah, you're
working for
right.
the
It
Israeli
could be
government.
some rogue faction that the Israeli state is unaware of. That's totally could possible. It could have just been some mafia group or whatever.
Or maybe
But
they just were like watching the plane and saw it crash, and maybe they just didn't like America.
yeah, except they had highlighted Doric Towers and the World Trade Centers on maps and visited the location the day before 9/11 and then set up. The first plane hits at 8:46, and we have timestamp pictures of the vans at 8:31 that were actually sent to Langley to be analyzed, witnesses of them celebrating, and then all five of them lied about where they were. And the first words out of the driver's mouth when they pulled over is, "We're not your problem. Your problem's our problem. The Palestinians are the problem." They try to play,
Okay.
and it's like, okay, why lied? Why did just say, "Yeah, I filmed it. I was excited. I don't know why I was celebrating." Whatever, some excuse, but they didn't. They all like, oh, I didn't get there till 10 o'clock, and it's not true because their own cameras incriminate them because they got the film from where they were and when they were there. Their license plate had been written down by people that were behind them
Well,
that
it
were
seems
in
to
the.
make a lot more sense that if you like videotape a terrorist action and you were celebrating, then you would probably want to lie about it when you were stopped by the police because they're probably going to make the conclusion, oh, this was implications that you did it. So it makes sense they would lie about it. It doesn't connect Israel
Well,
anyway.
yeah, but they lied about even being there, which is stupid because like you're on film. And
Right.
what they
This
did
is
later
very
is they
stupid.
said we thought at first it was a horrible accident. Like a lot of people thought, oh, maybe some pilot just screwed up drinking whatever and ran into the tower. And then when the second plane hit, everyone's like, this is not an accident. This must be a terrorist attack. The problem is if you thought it was a plane accident, you still would celebrate. There's no reason to celebrate a horrible plane crash.
I
They
know
knew
that
exactly what
I
it
would disagree with
was, and they
that
were
for sure.
celebrating
Because
because they knew it was going to get blamed on Muslims and that the U.S. was about to pound Iraq and all of Israel's enemies.
well, no, you could dislike America or dislike a country and a tragedy in the country. People would definitely praise
Could
it. Like
be,
there's
yeah. It could just hate
innocuous.
America. That actually fits with other things they said at the moving company. They would have meetings in Hebrew only, and they had these Russian and Hungarian people that did all the furniture lifting, and they would say a lot of anti-American things. But I would continue. You could do both. You could hate America, but also be excited because you know what it's about, what's about to go down, because you know the whole operation. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been in place to film it. It's not like it went kaboom and then they raced over to where it was and started filming. They were already there.
There is a pretty big
They're
portion
at
of New
Doric
York.
Towers. They'd been so Doric Towers is a place in New Jersey we can see straight across the river. You can see the Freedom Tower from there now. I actually like doubted this and went to New York, went to Urban Moving Systems, and drove to Doric Tower to see how long it would take, timed it and everything, trying to debunk this. Like before I had an opinion on any of this, I tried to debunk it as much as I could and tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, well, maybe they heard about it. Oh, it's exciting. Let's go see this. It's sick, but it's not illegal, right? Let's go. And yeah, awesome. And then we got pictures of it. This will be great for my MySpace or whatever it was around in 2001. I tried to make all those excuses. The problem is they got pulled out of the police lineup where they had been visiting these locations prior. They had highlighted maps in the van with them, and they had a notepad of all these other moving companies, all of which were Israeli fronts. They had the phone numbers of them all: Classic International Movers, White Glove Movers, Urban Moving System, and Max Movers. And then the Miami field office told the Newark office that the Classic International Movers had actually moved Al Omari, excuse me, who's pictured with Muhammad Atta in the ATM photo in Maine. He was on flight 11, I believe. that this moving company had moved him from New York to Florida. So not only were they like living near them, they actually helped them move around and gave him logistical support. There's no way an Israeli front company gave a 9/11 hijacker used his moving van to move him around. That's that they know of. That Miami flagged Newark right away to say, look, or excuse me, I had it back. They went from Florida to New York. They knew this. And it's like, wow, the guys celebrating the attack have a moving company that moved around a 9/11 hijacker. What a coincidence.
Right. So if the CIA was trying to use them as like moles, then it would make sense they'd also be working with the Israeli front company, right? Or they were also terrorists.
Yeah,
But
if
none of that actually
you could claim the CIA and Mossad were working together to monitor Al Qaeda, perhaps.
Well, yeah, because it
Um,
said before in the clip, in the quote from the Wikipedia, that the reason the CIA didn't tell the FBI, one of the most plausible ones, is that they were trying to use these people as moles. So, I mean, it would make sense.
San Diego that were living with the Saudis. Yeah, it's a great excuse. We just didn't want to. It was turf war, and what makes more sense to me is you'll see the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force always arguing and fighting over budget and things like that. And you have the same thing with the FBI and CIA and the other 15 intelligence agencies, where they want to be the one that gets the guy or whatever, so that they get more money the following year. That's their best argument, I think.
I don't think that's how the budget works for the CIA or the FBI. I
They
don't think
hate
they're
each other.
right. They
Always
definitely
have.
don't work together, but I don't think that's relevant because they definitely work together on many different things. And when there are terrorist organizations, they do absolutely work together on all of them. So there's
Well, like in what you just read, it was turf war. Like that was ours. We
what,
didn't want them in on it. That's our guy. And we're trying to flip them. But if you can flip
right.
them and tell the FBI, it's not like the FBI is going to run and tell the terrorists, hey, the CIA is trying to use you as a mole. There's still no reason not to tell the FBI.
If they're trying to flip them, there could be, but that was a different issue. So the point here is that they could be trying to flip them, which is a mistake and definitely on their part. But none
Yeah.
of that implies the Israeli government or the U.S. government had anything to do with this or any knew about it.
The Israeli government had to know about it, or at least a faction within Israel that was celebrating and filming the first plane hit. And they're giving logistical support to 9/11 hijackers, and they knew where their
Well, right. So
locations were.
it
Or
would make sense
somebody
that
mailed
those
Amtrak's.
guys would know about it if they're actually helping the 9/11 hijackers. Well, it doesn't follow that the Israeli government knew about it.
I mean, I don't think these guys just did this by themselves. It is the Israeli government that sent them over there and paid for everything. They weren't making money from moving furniture.
Right.
It was a front operation, and two of them already worked. They were already flagged by our own counterintelligence office as being spies. So it wasn't they were spies. And here's the biggest one. Zaid al-Jarrah, who was the pilot of Flight 93, right, that went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The passengers took the plane down. His first cousin, Yusuf al-Jarrah, and his other first cousin, Ali al-Jarrah, got busted in Lebanon as Israeli spies. So you've got not just he's related to Israelis, he's got Israeli espionage units are his first cousins of a 9/11 hijacker, not just a hijacker, but the pilot. And we also know the CIA had their phones tapped at the Hamburg cell of Ziad al-Jarrah and Mohammed Atta al-Shehi and crew and did nothing with it. I mean, the level of incompetence, you can keep making excuse after excuse, but the more you know, the more you learn, like, God, they can't be this stupid. This is on purpose. And there's no way, do you know how big a family would have to be? Like, oh, yes, I am. One side of the family is a 9/11 hijacker, and the other is spying on Hezbollah for Israel.
So again, what you're saying doesn't seem to make any sense. So Halnon's razor, don't attribute to malice that which can be attributed to stupidity. So the fact that it's two, and our criminals too, lots of them actually, more than
Right. A lot of
revealed.
informants on every level are drug users, murderers, and whatever. They're just trying to get someone higher above them. I get that. But this is a 9/11 plotter who had two family members in Israeli intelligence spying on Hezbollah since the 80s.
So yeah, so if they were hired by Hezbollah and working for Israel, then it seems like
No, they're hired by Israel to work against Hezbollah.
yeah, sorry. So
Yeah.
if this person's family has people working in both areas, it makes sense their family is probably to blame, not that Israel is to blame. It seems more
On the Israeli
stretch.
payroll. And the other
Right.
thing is, here, this is where it gets more mysterious. That black box survived Only two black boxes were found, the one in the Pentagon and the one at Shanksville. The one in the Pentagon was so damaged that even though it had been found, it was kind of useless. That's what they say. The one that was found in Pennsylvania, they found 95% of the plane in Pennsylvania. It's the easiest because it didn't hit a building or anything, just ran in the ground. And so we have the transcripts from it, which were released during the Moussaoui trial, the 20th hijacker. And I don't think they lied about the transcripts. And in the transcripts, and this is compounded by all the calls on the airphones, not cell phones, airphones, where they're talking about 3 hijackers instead of 4. Remember, that flight's supposed to have 4, the rest have 5. But all the airphone calls say 3. And I thought, well, maybe they just didn't see the guy in the cockpit or something like that. But even the other hijackers who are yelling up, up, down, down, giving instructions to shake the plane on the way down and all praise Allah, blah, 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 never mention Ali al-Jarrah, or excuse me, Ziad al-Jarrah's name. They're talking about al-Ghamdi instead, who was piloting the plane. So the idea that al-Jarrah was the pilot is at minimal wrong. He had to be one of the henchmen instead of the pilot, or he wasn't even on the plane, and that's why there's 3 instead of 4. And it makes sense why he ditched last effort, since 2 of his other family members are working for the Israelis. They found his passport, by the way, though. That's some evidence. The little corner was burned. It's like, see, it was in a fire.
What does it have to do with anything we were talking about? Like the fact that there were 3
because
or 4?
if he is the pilot, they would not have been screaming al-Ghamdi's name. They would have been screaming al-Jarrah's name about what to do with the plane. So he was not piloting the plane. Oh, I got a 2-year-old coming in. Hey, bud. Can you get him for a second?
So you mentioned the CIA had.
So there's no evidence of 4 people on the plane, and there's all the evidence we do have of the passengers calling say 3 people, and there's only 3 voices on the black box.
Why does the number on the people on the plane matter? Like whether he was on the plane or not doesn't make a difference.
It does matter. Yes, it matters. It matters if he is an Israeli mole running with Al Qaeda that ditched the ramp crew at the last effort, at the last moment. It is possible that he just sat quiet the whole time and never spoke. And so it's just the others that are 2 guys and the pilot that are yelling, and he's just sitting there quiet the whole time. Or he just wasn't there. That's why nobody saw him on the plane and his voice isn't on the black box.
How is this relevant to being evidence of a conspiracy by Israel or America?
Because his family members work for Israeli intelligence, and then we get all the evidence from the black box, and he's not on the plane. It's just circumstantial. It's not as hard as the other things, but it's together with them celebrating the attack, them giving logistical support to hijackers, them lying about anthrax, them lying about Iraq. It's not just like a single moment. You put it all together, how could they not have known? That's like a direct quote from our police chief, by the way.
Well, if they were driving
found out
around
when they were trying to track
attackers,
9/11 suspects before the event, people they were suspected of being terrorists, they changed their communication processes. And they did believe that because of some software that the Israelis had, Converse and InfoSeek, were informing them so they would always stay 2 steps ahead of the local authorities. Okay, and so Fox News did a 4-part series on that.
So if these guys were transporting the 9/11 terrorists, it makes sense that they would know about 9/11. But then you have to show, are they actually working with the terrorists, or are they working for the Israeli government? Like, why do you conclude that they told the Israeli government and were working for the Israeli government and are just terrorists?
They could have just been Israeli terrorists that did it all independently, and the Israeli government had nothing to do with it, except for the fact that the board of governors, the richest man in Israel, Ertime Wertheimer, that runs the Jewish agency, is the ones that sent Paul Kurzberg and crew over. And the way they fucked up on that is they were trying to redact that information and forgot to redact the footnote. The JA, by the way, it was birthed in terrorism, as was the entire Israeli state. Haganah and Palmach took over Palestine by force and were doing human trafficking, gun running, etc. They stole nuclear weapons from the United States. They've attacked the United States in the past. As recently as last year, they were spying on the White House. Nothing ever happens with these people. But he gave a $250,000 loan through an intermediary named Steve Witkoff that went to the police commissioner, Bernard Kerik, who went to jail for 10 years for fraud. And Bernard Kerik just so happened to be somewhere in August. He went to Israel from August 26th to 29th. He's the police commissioner for New York City that found a 9/11 hijacker passport. But there's an unexplained $250,000 loan out of the blue from the richest man in Israel, who is sitting as the board of governors for the Jewish Agency, which is the agency that sent the Israelis who were caught celebrating the attack. I don't think they're just independent terrorists. I think they work for the Israeli state. And it doesn't even matter because we already have evidence 100% that the Saudis were giving money and support to 9/11 hijackers, which means they did have state support, which means it wasn't just bin Laden and Al Qaeda doing it all by themselves, which is the official story.
Right. We agree Saudis fund terrorists. We know that. I'm
But
pretty
the
sure everyone
U.S.
agrees with that.
learned of that. And has it ever been on CNN or whatever where they came up and go, you know, Saudi Arabia financed 9/11 terrorists? Maybe we shouldn't be their ally right now, butchering kids in Yemen. They're never going to do that.
Well, we criticize Saudi Arabia all the time, especially for what's his name.
There was a bill to veto their war in Yemen, and Trump vetoed a bill to do that. But the only reason the bill even passed was because the Democrats didn't care the entire time that Obama was murdering kids with drone strikes and starving people to death. It didn't matter. It wasn't until Saudi Arabia was going to buy an S-400 unit from Russia that pissed off the Democrats, who just, you know, they hate all things Russia, and they decided to go against them on Yemen, and then Trump vetoed the bill. This is the saddest thing going on right now, is the kids in Yemen that are just being murdered. I mean, they have no chance against the richest state in the region, which is Saudi Arabia, and versus the poorest state in the region, which is Yemen. And the U.S. gives full support, $100 billion contracts for arms to Saudi Arabia, and screw everyone else. I mean, they are
Yes, that's
our
evil. I
ally,
totally
right?
agree. That's evil. We should not be giving money to Saudi Arabia, especially after they killed what's his name, Khashoggi, forgot his name. But
Khashoggi, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
so but again, so you said your position disagrees with the consensus. So far, most of what your position is the consensus position. Like I
I
agree with.
said we'd agree 90%.
Right, right,
I think Al Qaeda did
right.
9/11. I don't think they're independent actors. And I think the Saudis and the Israelis gave them support because there's a lot of evidence for that. And
Yeah, so
that's
that's the
that. And
one
I
thing I think
also
we
think we
disagree on.
erroneously attached it to Iraq because we did.
I agree. We agree on that part too. So the only thing I
Right.
think we disagree on is the connection to the Israeli government. That's the part where it seems like you're drawing a whole bunch
Well,
of different.
it's either the Israeli government or independent Israeli terrorists working with Al Qaeda.
That seems a lot more plausible to me.
I don't think anybody agrees with you.
It could be, but I don't see
It could
any.
be. It could be an independent terrorist organization that has ties to the wealthiest people in Israel and the Jewish agency, and somehow can control the press there and everything else. It isn't though.
I don't see them needing to do any of that. Like there just need to be terrorists. All of those other independent factors
Well,
have nothing
they
to do
had
with
to
it.
bribe the police commissioner because he's the one that starts downplaying the van bombs and things that were found with their logo on the vans.
Why would they need to bribe him? What are they? What
Well,
do
I
they get
think
out
the
of
American
this?
public would have been very interested in that there was a van packed with bombs on the George Washington Bridge that was pulled over the night of 9/11. What was it doing? Where was it going? Most people don't drive around a van full of bombs.
Right.
I think they've been interested to know that there was also a van bomb found in the parking garage of the World Trade Center, which is reminiscent of what happened in 1993 with the Ryder truck. And if these vans go to a front company of people celebrating the attack and they're not Arab Muslims, they ended up being Jewish Israelis, I think that's something they'd want to know. And so instead, they're like, oh, yeah, we found a van and we arrested the individuals, but there is no explosives. That's what he said. Like, well, there's no explosive. What are you arresting them for? But it was
Right.
reported live that there were explosives. And they start going into cover up mode. And this is typical. Anytime Israel does anything, the U.S. doesn't say anything. I mean, they've been
Well, wait, you
occupying
just jumped to Israel.
Palestine for 40 years.
So just start with that. So the sheriff stopped two trucks, said there was no explosives, but there was evidence of
No, the
explosives.
sheriff, the cops pulled him over and said there are explosives. CBS News said there's explosives. Everybody said there was explosives. Days later, the police commissioner gets asked about it, or Giuliani got asked about it. But Carrick is standing behind him, and Giuliani's smart enough not to say anything. He always deferred to Carrick whenever it came to 9/11 stuff. Carrick, who just got a $250,000 loan that we know of from Israel, gets up there and says, yeah, there was an arrest and we got 2 or 3 individuals. He didn't even know how many, but there were no explosives, is what he says. But that's not even the only van. There's multiple reports of vans with bombs in
Okay,
them on
stick with
9/11.
that. I want to clarify on that part. So, do you have evidence that Israel sent him this loan? Like, where's the evidence this loan came from Israel? Can you find that for me?
Oh, well, it's not Israel. It's Ertime Wertheimer, who is the wealthiest man in Israel, who works. He's on the board of governors for the Jewish Agency, and the Jewish Agency is a Israeli state agency. So it's
Okay,
an employee of the Israeli state. That
can you
doesn't
show
mean
me?
it's ordered by the prime
Uh,
minister.
I'm fine with that. So can you show me
I
that
can
this
show you
guy's?
that. Yeah,
Please
I can
do.
show you the loans to Carrick. It's not a problem. Everything I'm saying, I'm willing to document. I've made films
Cool,
about it. I'll
cool.
give you a film if you want.
Can you find me the evidence that this guy
Right
sent
now?
money?
Oh, geez, I
Yes.
don't know. Let me see.
Want to let you know in the
I'll
mean.
look too. What's
I
his
actually have
name?
footage of Carrick in Israel. Here, yeah, you just got to write in Bernard Carrick loan from Israel. First thing that pops up during his 10 years as Interior Minister of Iraq, Bernard Carrick secretly accepted and failed to report 250,000 interest-free loan from Israeli billionaire Ertime Wertheimer, a gift later determined to be a bribe for which he was indicted by the U.S. federal government and sentenced to prison.
And this bribe is connected to the vans specifically.
Well, they think there's a lot of things that Carrick was doing because he was also working with the Gambino family, and that's another long story. But yeah, this he went to Israel to acquire it. He didn't get the loan directly. It went through a middleman, and then it went to his wife, who Carrick then cheated on, and then it all fell apart. And he ends up going to jail. Um, but it was an interest-free loan of $250,000. Now you could argue, well, Aiton's a billionaire, so maybe 250 million or $250,000 is not a big deal to him. But people don't usually do that, and it's the police commissioner who he's bribing. So what we can say is Carrick always downplays anything that goes back to Israel on 9/11, and he's taking enormous amounts of money from the Israeli state. But he could
Uh,
not explain. He's not going to tell them I got bribed to cover up 9/11. So instead, he just took the 10-year sentence to jail.
right. So, but that's not the Israeli state. That's one Israeli guy, a rich guy who gave him
One
money.
Israeli rich guy that works for the Jewish Agency, which is a state institution.
Okay, but that's not from the state. That's from one Israeli guy who
It's
bribed
always
him.
like that. That's plausible deniability. They're not going to have Ariel Sharon hand him the money. I mean, it
Well,
is the
we
state.
definitely have lots of cases of the governments giving money to terrorists.
Yeah, but they always use an intermediary. I mean, that's even during Iran Contra when we're selling contraband. The Israelis did it for the United States. The Israelis were bringing contraband into Iran, and the proceeds of which went to help the Contras fight the Sandinistas, which Reagan publicly denounced and privately was doing. And then the other wing of that, you had them training pilots to bring guns in and cocaine out because they started using the narcotics as the budget to pay the Contras. And they openly sold cocaine in New Orleans, Miami, and Los Angeles. Had a plane crash, a CIA plane crash with the guns. Then that unfolded in the entire Iran Contra affair. And what we all learned from Ollie North is plausible deniability. You always use a middleman. You're never going to have Reagan hand somebody money. You're going to have a guy like Ollie North do it, or some independent person that you can deny. But it's real obvious that Israel wanted a war with Iraq, and that after 9/11, that's exactly what they got. And they lied about Iraq being part of 9/11, which they weren't. And that anthrax that ultimately got blamed on Bruce Ivins could not have been Bruce Ivins, because this guy would have had to drive down to Florida, show up at work in Maryland, and be in New Jersey at the same time mailing letters. It didn't make any sense.
So again, I don't see where you got this information that Israel made up the anthrax and tied it to Iraq. Where'd you get that from?
Because the source of the Atta and Prague meeting was Israeli security forces. That was reported in French, German, and American papers. The first American paper was the New York Observer, owned by Charles Kushner,
Okay, so they
who's a
reported
hardcore
seeing.
Zionist who bought up a bunch of property across the Hudson River before 9/11, 50 million square feet.
So they reported seeing a guy
They
in.
reported that senior Iraqi officials, I think they had a name, I don't remember that off the top of my head, but passed anthrax to Mohammed Atta at a meeting in Prague. And it just wasn't true. The London Times reported that. It was October something. I can go look that up later too. And it wasn't true. But James Woolsey, who was the former director of Central Intelligence that Clinton appointed, even though he hated him, part of that Epstein thing, came back and said, oh yeah, Iraq gave anthrax to Muhammad Atta. And the people that started reporting that the most were all from the Weekly Standard, which was set up by William Crystal and Robert Kagan, two hardcore Zionist Jews. And then the lies were stovepiped not to the normal intelligence channels, but to something called the Office of Special Plans, which was run by Douglas Feith, another hardcore pro-Israel guy, and Richard Pearl, who had been caught spying for Israel in the past. And then Paul Wolfowitz, who has a sister who's a settler, and Douglas Feith is also partnered with Feith and Zell, and Mark Zell is also an Israeli settler. This group pumped out every pre-war lie about Iraq, from yellow cake uranium to weapons labs, aluminum tubes, bombs under the palaces. All the crap they said all came from the same place, and it was an Israeli clique. And after the fact, they knew that, and the anti-war left just ignored all that and said, "Oh, it's my oil or whatever."
Where
the Office of Special Plans is no problem. Just write Office of Special Plans in Google. Very easy.
Yeah, where did they get this source from? Because I definitely agree. They say the source is unreliable. That the report that he was in Prague is wrong, but they don't say where the source was from. Where do you get this? This is from Israel.
All right, I can grab that from my own forum. Hold on a second. If I show you this, I hope you change your mind too, because like this is very important stuff. And the classic 9/11 truth or whatever, they don't go near any of this. It's going to take me a second with that. I have a lot of reports on Israel and anthrax.
In the meantime, I want to let you know, folks, we are very excited as Dr. Richard Carrier, will be back in just shy of a couple of weeks to debate with CJ on the resurrection. That should be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of other juicy topics coming up this week, some of which I'm pretty sure, Tom, we have maybe I might have you scheduled with. I could have sworn. I'll get back to it. But yes, we do anticipate a couple of juicy ones, including Tom, as there's been a lot of feedback about your recent debate, Tom, with Jake. So we will have a lot more juicy topics like that.
Yeah, so this says Czech intelligence.
Yeah, they blame both, and the Czechs are like, we didn't say shit. October 27th in London Times talks about Israel. I'm going to find the things, though. Hold on. I had to take pictures of the articles or go on Wayback Wind Machine for some of these. The name was Ahmed Khalil Ibrahim Samir Al-Anti. No wonder I didn't remember that. So it's here's yes, this is who is this? This is an English paper, I think. Daniel McGregory, October 27th, 2001. Hijacker given anthrax flash by Iraqi agent. And goes on to say, and he quotes Bild for the German newspaper, suggested a more sinister motive for the meetings. The claim, according to Israeli security sources, is that Atta was handed a vacuum flask of anthrax by his Iraqi contact. From Prague, it is believed that Atta flew to Newark from New Jersey. Letters laced with anthrax were sent to broadcasters and politicians in New York, Washington, and Florida. And then you have the Czech officials have been to the Washington to reveal all they know, but they can't question the Iraqi envoy because Mr. Super Long Name was deported from Prague in April for activities incompatible with the photo bucket thing is over top of the rest of this, but whatever. But from the paper, the Israeli security sources is that Atta handed a vacuum flask of anthrax by his Iraqi contacts.
So it seems like the Heineck Komenik, whatever the long name guy is like the Czech diplomat. I don't see the connection to the Jewish one anywhere in here. Where is?
No, they both have long names. There is an Iraqi guy with a super long name. He's irrelevant because none of them had anthrax. But the claim in the German and the British papers were that Israeli security forces witnessed this transfer of a vacuum flask from the Iraqis to Muhammad Atta.
Right. That seems to be the claim in the Czech report, but where did this come from? The Israeli, like, where did the Israelis claim this? That I can't find. This all the Czechs claim
Yeah,
this.
well, the first paper I found is sourcing another paper. So I think it's the London Times sourcing the Bild newspaper from Germany. And I recall offhand it being in the Observer and also Le Monde, but I, I'm not
No,
going to
I,
find
I
those
grant I
immediately.
grant the news articles. The news articles say what the Czech report said, and the Czech report may have said this, but I can't find any actual reference to anything in Israel other than just the report said this.
Yeah, Woolsey said it himself. I mean, they're all sourced in Israeli security because that is the source of all of it. And the Czechs got duped because they didn't. There was none of this was true, and it was all the pro-Zionist outfits that later reiterated this, even after it was proven false, even after we knew Atta didn't go to Prague, as William Safire wrote in the New York Times. They continued to push this narrative anyway. And at the time, they started chasing around Stephen Hatfield, blaming him for the anthrax, because once the war in Iraq started, the anthrax didn't matter. So they started going after Stephen Hatfield. He was proven innocent, won like a £6 million lawsuit. And then they settled on Bruce Ivins, and he committed suicide, allegedly overdosed on Tylenol the day before the trial.
So I found, like, the original articles. The Wall Street Journal reports that the source for this claim came from a contact in the Czech intelligence within the Iraqi embassy. No mention of Israel. The origin is the
There are two
Czech
sources. The
intelligence.
Czechs are sourcing the Israelis, and Woolsey sourcing the Israelis. And
I
there was
can't find
another Czech
anything about the Israeli
intelligence.
source. I can't find that. All I
Well,
can find is
there
the Czech
is.
source.
And the Czechs, too, could not have witnessed such an event because there was none.
Well, again, I can't find the Israeli source. So I grant that all this was
It
made
did.
up.
Well, I will find all the stuff and send it to the host after. But it's
Okay.
12 now. So we went over an hour and I'm taking my son bowling. But I promise you, I'm telling you the truth.
Okay, yeah, that would be a good next step. Yeah, I
Sure.
don't criticize anything you've said so
It's
far.
cool. I'm
Everything,
totally confident. Like, I will show you whatever you want to know and some.
yeah, everything
So
you're saying seems perfectly reasonable as far as I can tell, except the
I
connection with
could make
Israel.
something up that complicated if I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm not accusing you of just making this up.
I got it.
You're not like the guy who was on yesterday, who was definitely just crazy. What you're saying does seem to be well researched, and I'd like to commend you for that.
It's not a big shock. Oh, wow. Israel lies about stuff like everyone else. That's what governments do. Anyway, I
Sure.
got to bounce. I made a promise. Got to take son bowling. So
All right, thanks
have a
for
good
coming
day.
on.
Peace.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Ryan.
Thanks for the invite.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. We will get your questions, folks.
It's working? Okay, look at this. Los Angeles Times. Israeli intelligence officials also reportedly have been pushing the possibility of an Iraqi connection to the terrorist attacks. The terrorist attacks mean 9/11. It could be in Israel's security interest to see the U.S. take a more aggressive stance against Iraq. Germany's mass circulated Bild newspaper Thursday quoted unidentified Israeli intelligence sources saying that Atta received anthrax spores from Iraqi agents in Prague. Suck it. I hate having to like go dig up papers and stuff on the fly in the middle of a debate. It's like I've already made films with all these documents in the film, screenshots showing you, footnoted, etc. There's over 1,000 footnotes in Empire Unmasked. There's a free, lesser version called War by Deception, walking through, giving you the quotes, the dates, LA Times, London Times, etc. of all the stuff that I'm talking about. And it really only takes 2 or 3 minutes on Google nowadays to go and find these things. You're like, oh, I can't find this. Why? Because you looked at Wikipedia and gave up. Anyway, we have some super chats. One is from Fire Pixie for 3. Says, sorry to go off topic. I just wanted to say Horsecock Johnson is a fantastic name. Yeah, it is. It's up there. There's a one is a General Lee name. Play on words is pretty good too. Contrarian Sumerian chimes in for 5 George Washingtons. It says, "You're killing it lately. Keep up the good work, bud." Thank you. Any questions, by the way? There's a whole lot I didn't get into because we ran out of time, because there's the Israeli art students that we didn't touch. There's a lot of things we didn't touch. However, we did get into a lot of what was left out on the kill stream, which is on ANC report right now if you are an artisan member or above. So artisans, knights, paladins, and rainbow frogs have access to the uncensored version, and then everyone has access to the censored version, and peasants and above have access to the MP3 of the censored version, all on ancreport.com. You can go check it out. I am unable to upload new content on my site right now, and my tech wizard is in between cities, so I hope I hope sometime today it'll be available so we can get that sorted out. But I was able to get the kill stream up moments before we started having issues, so that is there. There were some B&T streams I did with Adam Green and Ali Bashai yesterday about blueberries, something just not going to touch with a 6 million foot pole on YouTube. But you're just not allowed to criticize the Israeli state without some idiot piping up and saying it's anti-Semitic. It's actually anti-Semitic to equate whatever the Israeli state does to Jays in general. And the fact that I have to say Jays is ridiculous. But YouTube has no nuance. They just see the certain 3-letter word and freak out. They're anti-Semitic because they're the ones that are collectively condemning an entire ethnic group and saying whatever actions our government does is the will of this people as a whole or something. It clearly isn't, but that's how they think in identitarian terms. They think God gave them land and they can forcibly murder and bulldoze people and their property down and then replace it with cities for them and them only. It's the only place in the world like that, by the way. Can you imagine if the U.S. just started bulldozing down towns in Mexico and replaced them with white-only cities? How long would that last without the media reporting on it? What would the reaction of the world community be, even if America did it? No way could that happen, because America is not a racist country. And if America behaved like that, the American public would be appalled. There would be a revolution. You can't just go bulldoze a city down and make a racial settlement. However, in Israel, they do it every day, all day. They're annexing territory in the West Bank. They smash homes of Palestinians, Bedouins, anybody in the way, and make Jewish-only colonies. That is, by law, only the chosen race of God is allowed to live in them on property that they forcibly stole. And it's not in the media. It lets you know who runs the American media, because America could never behave that way. No state could behave that way. Could you imagine if Iran started ethnically cleansing minorities to make Persian-only towns? Could never do it. The only state even close is China, going after the Uyghurs. But that is in the media and is condemned. Unlike Israel, where they act like they're just making neighborhoods, and they actually blame the victims. They're like, oh, Hamas or whatever. Oh, what Hamas not even in the West Bank. They're in Gaza, but they just say that anyway. What are the people in the West Bank supposed to do? Just let you steal their homes? Just let you shoot at their kids and take over all the highways where you have color-coded license plates and, all the Arabs on this road, all the Chosenites on the other road? Like, this is why you're not going to get to the bottom of 9/11 truth. We are not even allowed to talk about an ongoing 45-year occupation, which I don't think we can use the word occupation anymore. We just have to say what it is: annexation. 45 years of a military incursion into Palestine, stealing property, land, homes, and murdering people. and it's happening, it's ongoing, it's every day, and there hasn't been a single day on CNN, ABC, CBS, Fox, none of it, the Times, the Post, whatever, not a single day of a single 1 minute report saying Israel is demolishing homes with bulldozers and replacing them with the chosen race of God. Americans, especially American Christians, have no idea that that is even happening. So if you can't get the truth out about an ongoing event that is visible right now, you can go see it, right, and read all the foreign press about it, and happening every day. How are you going to get the truth out of an event that happened in one day in 2001? Like, why haven't I heard about this? This idea of if some big event happened like that, surely the news would cover it, is so naive. They don't. Any time Israel commits a crime, the three-letter networks blame the victims. They're never going to report it. Name any Israeli crime that the American mass media has ever admitted. They shot up the USS Liberty and killed American sailors. The President of the United States covered it up. Lyndon Johnson. Sink that damn ship to the bottom of the ocean. They stole nuclear weapons, technology, and material from the U.S. No one knows. It's in books. That's it. It has never been said on televised media, and it never will. Because guess who owns the media? It's not the journalists. They're interested. Like, look at the Epstein case. It's not a Presbyterian problem, right? All you've heard about it really is online. Because they're not going to touch it. They actually helped cover it up. Jeff Zucker at CNN would rather talk about Russiagate or whatever, or, Orange Man Bad. He's not going to talk about an international pedophile ring run by the Israeli state to blackmail businessmen and politicians in the U.S. It's one of the biggest stories of our time, and the televised media is not interested. The public certainly is. You can't act like, the public's not interested in the story. They are desperate to hear about this story. Every little sentence about it, they'll go and look up and archive, and they want to know everything about it. And the press doesn't want to tell the story. They want to, the journalists do. It's the editorial group is where the censorship happens. And they are told what to do by the boss. And the boss for CNN is Jeff Zucker. And whether it's Rupert Murdoch or Zucker or any of the rest of them, they all have something in common, and we're not even allowed to point it out. That's how bad the censorship is. We just got an Andrew Jackson from Cecil Burns that says, here's a 20 for patiently schooling that clown, way to dominate with knowledge. Yeah, I mean, the guy just didn't know. And he's like, I need to see that. I need to see the evidence for that. I'm like, fine, here, look, there it is. Now, what's your next excuse? It's just going to be ad hoc hypotheses indefinitely. I've dealt with that type of person before. Show me. And then you show them, and they're like, oh, wow. Well, maybe. And they're on to excuse number 2. And then, nope. And then on to excuse number 3. It just, some people have such an affinity for the Israeli state because they're so afraid that if they oppose something Israel's doing, that they're going to get accused of anti-Semitism, that the brain melts. Especially people on the left. People on the left are so scared of someone yelling racist, anti-Semitic, sexist, some kind of ism or whatever, that they will do the largest mental gymnastics show you have ever seen to prove, I wasn't saying anything bad about any minority anywhere, as if, like, no one else can commit crimes or lie to people. Like, you're a minority? Oh, well, then you can't be doing anything wrong because, I don't want to get accused of being racist. So stupid. Which is itself racist, by the way. And E. Must for 10 says, love your work. Keep it up. Sorry, I never have any thought-provoking questions. I'm just here to learn. No, you've had good questions in the past, from what I remember. And there's nothing wrong with just showing support. I mean, that's $52 for about 20 years of research and knowledge I just dumped in that debate. Is better than nothing. And that's what we've raised. Well, minus 15% for entropy, but when I started, there was no YouTube. There was no Facebook. There wasn't even a social media site to be banned from in the first place. They just didn't even exist. Like people complaining about the free market because Silicon Valley is so tightly controlled, monopoly, etc. Yeah, but without the free market, there is nothing to even be banned from. You have nothing at all. It's like being banned on everything. At least you have something to get kicked off of now. And market competition is the solution because the government's never going to help. That's why we have BitChute. That's why we have brand YouTube. That's why we got Gab and Minds and DLive and Entropy, because I can't get shekel chats. I go with this Canadian country Entropy, and that's the way around it. Free market is the only real world solutions. You can talk about enforcing antitrust laws and meh. Great story. Government's not going to do it. They don't want a free media. Hell no. Right? Well, that would be political suicide for the government. Look what they did to Assange and Snowden. They're not in trouble for revealing government secrets. They're in trouble for revealing government crimes. That's what got Assange in jail and got Snowden exiled. They told the world about criminal activity done by our government. Illegal government activity, not state secrets. And they just use the excuse of, classified, this and that. Whatever they want to do, they just cover up their crime by saying this is all classified information. Brett sends in a Hamilton. Thanks for the massacre. Thanks for that massacre again. ANC for the win. Can you give the chat an explanation on the art students? The art students is a separate ring. It has nothing to do with the stupid ass movies on YouTube saying, the B team gelatin, whatever, that was in the towers. That was actual art students from Austria, not Israel. It had nothing to do with September 11th. And the problem is, when you Googled or search engined Israeli art students, it used to go to Cryptomy or Justin Raimondo or myself or Rivero or somebody covering these stories, talking about the massive spy ring that was spying on the DEA and was spying on government officials and military installations on behalf of Israel. They had a fake university where they supposedly were doing art and they're selling glitter kitties and stuff. One of them, Hanan Servate, was the roommate of a cell that was caught. I didn't get into this in the debate either, but there was, as you guys know, a ring from Jerusalem caught illegally doing work on the Twin Towers. Who had one of them had a pass to do work on September 5th in the World Trade Center, which was illegal because the Port Authority is the only one that could authorize such work to be done on elevator cables or internet or fire suppression systems. And yet they were in there doing it anyway on the fire suppression system. So there's a link between that cell and the art students. But the art students were spying on U.S. government facilities, including the military and especially the DEA. They needed to spy on the DEA because the ramp crews, the way you get illegal narcotics in is the same way you can get weapons or any other kind of contraband on a plane, something they were very interested in learning how to do. And controlling the ramp crew is the easiest way to get illegal things, knives, guns, mace, etc. on a plane. And we do know that mace was used by Al-Qaeda on September 11th. And knives, not just box cutters. And we have the itemized list of debris and items found from Flight 93, which includes a huge Bowie knife. It was still there, and we actually even went back and found the Walmart that it was purchased from, with two of the hijackers on the Walmart security footage buying the knives. So guess who wasn't there though? Ziad Al-Jarrah, of course. So it's a long story, but go watch Empire en Masse because there's a tie between Omar Mamari and a supposed hash dealer in New York with Israeli art students. There's also art students who lived across the street from Doric Tower. It was a ring of 3 women, one of whom I share a birthday with, who were living right across from Doric. What were they doing? Same sort of thing. Most of them were down in Florida. It was another way of keeping track. We had one group keeping track of the hijackers, the other group keeping track of the U.S. to figure out how much the U.S. knew about the hijackers, and then, of course, informing their handlers who would help move them around to avoid local authorities. So whenever the cops start like dipping in on their communications processes, the handlers who are embedded with the cell, and I'm going all over this in my films, would change the way they communicate, suddenly move up and go. That's why every hijacker's got 5 or 6 addresses. Atta has like 16. And this is seems to be part of the role of the art students, was, you know, spying, you know, policing the police kind of thing, and then acting as informants to protect Al-Qaeda from local authorities, to make damn sure they got on those planes that day, because that from there on, it was all she wrote. You can't get the entire U.S. government down to your local beat cop to go along with this crap. So they did have to avoid the authorities on that level. And they did aggressively spy on the Drug Enforcement Agency because, partly because there are way of financing these things with an off-the-books budget is through narcotics. But secondly is because they know the DEA has look-away lists where they allow drugs on planes, and they know where this is coming from. And if you can get cocaine on a plane, you can get a knife on a plane, and so on. So they would know those methods and who the corrupt officials were, etc. And it's general spying on the American government, which Israel does on every level all the time anyway. And we do know that they would end up being caught in 2 $40 million sting operations, one in the West Coast and one in the East, of $80 million worth of ecstasy, which was all the rage in the 90s, but it was being peddled by the Israelis. And you can Google Israeli ecstasy $40 million sting and read about both of those. Anyway, True Grit just popped in for 10 and says, can you speak on the attempt to recruit Patrick Little before he became knowledgeable about the blueberries? No, I cannot talk about that, but I can direct you to my website where we talked about it for about 40 minutes. It is a very interesting story, but that is not YouTube friendly. So no, I'm not going to do that. That would show on my own account. But if you go to ancreport.com, the top podcast, actually, it's the uncensored kill stream. And that one, the whole second half, he's going over how he was being groomed, in a sense, and told to go to the military, which he did. And he speaks 2 or 3 languages. I know German, and I think he studied some Hebrew as well, and obviously English. But anyway, Marco Rubio is in the story, as is some very famous faces, as well as ABB. Well, let's just say ABB. It's a Norwegian word. Please fill in between the lines on your own, or just go to ANC Report so I don't have to talk in code, and you'll get it. If B&T is up right now, I think I'll upload it there as soon as I can. So, yeah, that Aaron saying that freaks me out. If you caught the kill stream live, I mean, you could see the fear in Ralph's face as Patrick Little's going on, and then I'm going ham, and then he goes more ham, and I throw gas on the fire. And we were hitting so many taboo topics that Ralph was just like, oh, man, what did I do? And I was like, I actually had David Cole and Duke on Skype that I could have brought in, too. I was going to ask if I could bring them on so all of us would be on at the same time, but I didn't want to see Ralph's head physically explode as it would have. But I think you made the right decision in pulling that, but then giving it to me so I could put it up. Because, it's not worth rolling the dice. You don't want to lose D Live. He's got nothing else left. He's been censored on everything. So I understand. I don't think you should give him a hard time for censoring that. Plus, Patrick Little did make a kind of off-color joke about a thing that they're going to interpret the way they want to. The Jared Holtz of the world and stuff are going to act like he's advocating violence, or well, he wasn't, but that's what they're just going to do. So you have to be practical about these things and understand that you don't own or control any media, and whatever you say, they're going to spin it the way they want to. You have to be very clear in condemning violence and so on. He says, yes, it was glorious. his head would have exploded if I was like, and on the line, David Irving, whatever. I actually said, so, Ralph, shall we talk about World War II now? He's like, no. I was kidding him. I was like, you want to talk about spinning squirrels? And, yeah, boom. I think he would have just, he was like, that's it. I'm taking my shirt off. This is a warning. We were not going to talk about spinning squirrel on Killstream. That definitely would have been the very last Killstream. In fact, just the threat of me calling in when a couple of other turds were on got them kicked off Discord last time, and got me kicked off Discord too. So, DLive is better than YouTube, but still they do censor and they don't archive. That's why B&T and BitChute are better than DLive. The problem with BitChute is they don't have live streams and they don't have a way to donate really, except for PayPal, which all of us have been kicked off of. So B&T is the last man standing in that regards, because they do live stream. You can shekel chat. It's way smaller than DLive and BitChute because it's new, but it's up to us to change that, to get the word out, get more people using it, and so on. And then Entropy has been a godsend for me, because that's how we pay the rent. It's like we have no other way to accept donations except through them, really. I can't even take personal checks because I live in Japan. So that's it. There's crypto, but that's too confusing for 99% of the population, so it doesn't work, right? I can accept crypto, but so what? No one has any, so it doesn't matter. You enjoyed the kill stream? Well, good. It was fun to be back on there, and the whole thing is, I don't endorse their other shows or guests or whatever, but that's like, it's not me. It's irrelevant. I said what I was going to say, and Ralph let me go off on 9/11, so I hope his audience, a lot of them, it's the first time they'd heard a lot of this information. All they'd ever heard before is Building 7 and, the classic Alex Jones thing that avoids everyone involved and just makes it like a mystery. Ooh, stuff blew up. Wonder who did it. I don't know. The foreign intelligence agency caught in vans packed with bombs. That would be the first place I would look. But they don't. And Alex Jones had Donald Trump on his show, and they talked about the dancing Muslims. And that Alex knows that it wasn't dancing Muslims celebrating 9/11. He knows exactly who it was, and he just sat up there and lied anyway, which shows you he's a sellout. They compromised him. The guy's looking at T-girl porn, divorced his wife to marry a Jewish masseuse. He's a little happy ending addict, and he's been compromised, and he's not going to change. He's now saying Trump took over the Federal Reserve and a whole bunch of other nonsense, so whatever. He's a true blue Texan, if you know what I'm saying. It was good to be on Sean Atwood's show. Yeah, I did a couple shows with Sean about Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't mind going back to talk about September 11th at some point. I know he's super busy. I'm supposed to do an AMA with somebody. I don't know. Pug was setting it up. So that's coming in the future. And then my brother's coming back on. Chris Edwards is on. I did one with Adam Green yesterday. Frankie Frank's got a big report. Oh, man. Next Monday, you guys want to tune into this one. It's about the truth of 5G, not the kook stuff, but how the government gets it and no one else does, and a lot about what's been going on the West Coast. Do you know that while Oregon is on fire so bad the sky is orange and you can smell ash in the air, that they're having a hard time putting the fire out because a third of their helicopters are in Afghanistan? Their helicopters from Oregon, which are needed to put out fires, are in Afghanistan. For what? Moving around opium, most likely. Like, it's so useless. They don't need to be in Afghanistan. They need to be in America, serving American interests, putting out fires that are threatening homes and destroying the environment and so on. And there are Antifa weirdos out there cheering it on. Hooray, the sky is orange. Oh, yeah, that'll help with all your climate change and stuff that you pretend to be concerned about. Jeff Goldblum chimes in with a high five, says, Ryan, what would be your response to people who always say Israel is just defending themselves whenever they fire rockets at Palestinians? Just show them reports where rockets went into bedrooms and killed people in their sleep. Like, oh, are you defending yourself from that 15-year-old asleep in his house? Did he have a big artillery gun in his window or something? I mean, that's just ridiculous. There's film of Israelis shooting Palestinians playing soccer. this film of Israelis shooting Palestinians for sport, saying, get the one in the blue shirt. No, the white shirt. Boom. Oh, I got him. You son of a bitch. Da, da, da. They're just laughing about it. They're shooting unarmed kids. You know, they're hiding behind a border wall, just firing at people for sport. All right? They're not defending themselves. Like, ask them what would count as offense, right? If you take an F-15, right, you're in the air, way out of range of any weapon that Palestinians possess, and you blow up the Gaza University, which they did, or an agricultural center, you kill a bunch of chickens and you're going after their food. Were the chickens throwing eggs at you? Was the university secretly having giant guns like the Legion of Doom mobile lab? Like, there is no way to just, like, what would count as offense if flying an F-16 into Palestine, not in Israel, there all the action happens in Gaza or in the West Bank. None of it happens in Israel. You're not on the defense. You're on the offense. I mean, like, just ask them, well, what would offense be? If not that. If bombing someone from a plane isn't offense, what the fuck is offense? They're not reacting to this. They're like, oh, a Palestinian stabbed an Israeli soldier at a checkpoint. Where's the checkpoint? In Palestine. What's the soldier doing there? Like, oh, foreign soldiers are in their land saying what roads they can drive on and what they can't. And somebody stabs a soldier, not a civilian, right? Like, the Palestinian's the one defending himself and his family. They are attacking, with the only means they have, foreign soldiers that are harassing them, killing them, and facilitating the theft of their land and destruction of their property. You have the right under international law to defend yourself from an occupying power. But they act like, no, God gave me this land. Like, that's the actual excuse. Comes back to some religious justification, some fanatical religious justification. Even the secular ones believe, oh no, this is our land. We came back here to claim it after World War II. Just 1,100 years of continuous Muslim residence, and you're going to come back, allegedly, even though you have no relation to Hebrews. You're a bunch of guys from Poland, mainly, with blue eyes, and you have to wear sunscreen because you're not supposed to be in the Middle East. But, yeah, you're going to come back to your land, right? It's like if I went back to Russia and saying, well, 20,000 years ago, my ancestors crossed the Bering Strait, but were originally from Eastern Russia, so I'm just going to go to Russia, kick someone out of their house, and say, this is mine because I'm Native American and we were here 20 to 30,000 years ago, whatever, and I'm going to go take private property away from somebody and say God gave it to me. It's ridiculous. I mean, there's people like that say, oh, they're just defending themselves, have the story fed to them. They think like Hamas is shooting all these rockets and Israel's reacting. They never, just go look the day before the rockets were fired, and you almost always find that Israel starts the aggression. Then there's a reaction. Then they react to that reaction, but they always start the story in the middle and act like, oh, we were just doing nothing, didn't do nothing, and Hamas fired for no reason at all, even though we have an ongoing occupation and a blockade, and they can't get trade, and we limit their food, and they have a calorie count, and we can arrest their kids, and we have checkpoints, and we can kick them off the road, delay ambulances, purposely cause murder, allow arsons to go burn houses, and even babies, and they get celebrated. They go in and out of jail like nothing. If they even that, they just get administrative detention, and they're allowed to burn farms, and they can throw, tear gas in windows at 2:30 in the morning. There's constant harassment every fucking day that they do the Palestinians, and then finally one of them shoots a rocket that is homemade most of the time, and they go, oy vey, they're shooting 10 zillion rockets at us every minute on Mother's Day while we're holding a teddy bear, which is also our birthday, for no reason at all. These militant Muslim Palestinians are attacking us, and we must go get our American-made and paid-for F-15 to shoot a fucking rocket in the bedroom and kill a teenager. Like, get bent. Just send them that rant I just said. That's what you do when someone says we're defending ourselves, or human shields, or any of that BS. True Grit for 3 says, I admire your patience with T-Jump. The odd facial expressions was just as bad as the lack of substance. I don't have the patience for smug people. Well, You know what a smug person needs more than anything? They need a fucking ass beating like I just delivered. Like, they're so arrogant and ignorant and smug. Well, I don't see, and just sitting there on your energy drink with your acne face, asking stupid questions and showing that you don't know a fucking thing about 9/11. And that's exactly what happened. They got trounced in the comments like, you're an arrogant douchebag that doesn't know anything. And that's exactly what it was. Like, sometimes they just need a comeuppance. They go along and they argue with plebs, or they argue with like high schoolers and stuff, and they think they're real smart. And then they talk to a grown-up or a real researcher, and it's like they just hit a brick wall. And I guarantee you they don't want any more of that. But it's very rare for me to get a debate, and honest, where they actually say it's going to be a debate and set a time and so on. Most people don't want to do it. It doesn't work out for them. Like, I'm not even debating. I was like, oh yeah, it could have been this, that, like whatever. Even trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. If I was doing sophistry, I could have been much more of an asshole and engaged in rhetoric and just completely buried the person. But like, I'm not out to do that, or my ego, whatever. If I really wanted to just tear into them, I could sat here with a folder full of documents, knowing what they're going to ask, showing it like that. I'm not into trashing people. I want to trash the argument. Like, because I don't care about T-Jump or anyone else's thing, their opinion. Like, they're just whatever. I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to the audience, really. Like, I'm providing all this evidence for everybody listening. Whether I change his mind or not doesn't matter to me. It's just some one guy. And I think it did change his mind, at least on the Saudi part. But the whole purpose of the debate is for the public to gather all the information in a format or whatever of a discussion or debate. It's not for me to like just convince them, right? If I just wanted to convince them, I'd leave all the Israel stuff out and just talk about Saudi Arabia. I still win the debate because it's already state sponsored for Al-Qaeda. It was covered up by the U.S. That's already done. You can do it in 30 minutes. But I include all the Israel stuff that I could fit into an hour because it's true and people need to know it. So that's why it was in there. Any other questions? I'm gonna do a commercial real fast while I'll let you think on those, and we'll be back right after this. Let's see.
Okay, next question. What is it, CNN? Oh, you want a question? Are you a piece of shit? Yes, you are. Next question. MSNBC? Fuck yourself. WAPO? WAPO? Why isn't your hand raised, WAPO? Was I mean to you? Was I mean to you? Did Russia show up at your house, WAPO? It's okay. You can go home and cry on your dick-shaped pillow. Next question. Okay, next question. What is it, CNN? Oh, you want a question? Are you a piece of shit? Yes, you are. Next question. MSNBC? Fuck yourself. WAPO? Why isn't your hand raised, WAPO? Was I mean to you? Was I mean to you? Did Russia show up at your house, WAPO? It's okay. You can go home and cry on your dick-shaped pillow. Next question. Okay.
I was looking for my Pedos to Pizza commercial, and it seems to be not here. Huh. Well, I had another funny one. I'll find it for the next stream, I suppose. I played it on BNT. Alright, looks like I got all these. Fire Pixie, Spud McKenzie, Sean Price, Horace Cock Johnson, Contrarian Sumerian, Cecil Burns, Anon E. Muss, Brett, True Grit, Jeff Goldblum, and True Grit again. Thank you for your shekels. and I'll give people a moment if you have any other 9/11 questions. Or do I have an email for contact and appearances? Yep. You just email Ricky, RICKY, Ricky at ancreport.com. That's the guy that handles all that stuff. A spinning squirrel commercial. We have a spinning squirrel commercial. I'm not playing it today, though. Yeah, media inquiries or tech inquiries, just email Ricky. You can also reach Pug, my sometimes co-host Pug, on the Discord. And don't try and mail me on Discord. I will not look at it because there's already like 500 messages I haven't seen because I don't Discord. I pop in, share my stuff, and I deal with the members area, and that's pretty much all I do. Maybe once a week I'll go in. I don't know. But if you get hold of Pug and you have an actual like media inquiry or a debate or a radio interview or something like that, or advertisement, you can get hold of Pug and he'll get hold of me. If it's just to ask a question, I can't possibly do that. Like, you got to do it through Entropy, Shuckle Chat. That's your best bet. I do not have ANC hats. I wish that was a possibility, but it isn't. I do have a face mask or a face shield of rainbow frogs. Like, it's got like 44 rainbow frogs all over it. It's awesome. And we've got a rainbow frog t-shirt out now too. So, go over and get that one while it still exists. I do pop in on Discord now and then, like on my phone, to talk to everybody in general, but I don't answer messages on it because there's more than 500 of them already, and a lot of them are dumb, and I can't be that available, right? I've already answered an email, and I'm already answering Skype, and I'm already answering Twitter, and I'm already answering Facebook, and I'm already answering Entropy, and I'm already answering YouTube when I can, and B&T messages. So I'm like, I'm not doing Discord. That's Pug stuff. You want to talk to me through there? Just talk to Pug. But the best way is just to email Ricky. Ricky at ancreport.com. Tone Balone says, wonder what videos you got talking about Project Naomi. Does it still go on today? Sorry if it's off topic. Oh, the topic's whatever you want the topic to be. I mean, you're throwing in a Jackson, that's the topic. Let's see. I talked about that on the kill stream, actually. And I went in depth into it 2 podcasts ago on brand new tube. The title is Dawson and Dawson. The description is history and stuff because I didn't know what we were going to do. But the whole last half of that was talking about the CIA and LSD and sexual escapades, and we got into all the MKs, Naomi, Ultra, and so on. We went into all that, and it's a really good one, but it's definitely not going on YouTube. So Dawson and Dawson on brandnewtube.com, Ryan Dawson Show. Brett has a link probably if he's still here. And that, here, I'll find it. I think I can do that. If brand new tube is working right now, we'll see. Here, let me commercial you while I go and get that. Let's see. We'll do this one.
Is it on my phone?
God gave it to me.
It's my phone.
God gave it to
Give
me.
it back.
God gave it to me.
Give it
Oh,
back.
oh my God, America. She's got a knife. Obey, help, terrorist, anti-Semite. I was in the shop getting my bagels, just using my phone, and this Palestinian terrorist, 3 times my size, wielding a knife, came out of nowhere, broke my arm, tried to take the phone that God gave to me. Oh, no, 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 Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar!
Hi, my name is Ashley, and I...
Loud Agreed Martin, proud producer and proprietor, patriotic projectile party poppers. Got some uppity brown people making trouble for your empire? Replace them with a charred freighter and a cloud of white smoke. So remember, if your next geostrategic boondoggle is going awry, don't call us, we'll call you. Loud Agreed Martin.
Apparently, brand new tube is not working in Japan right now, so I cannot get the link. So, is this on? Yeah, all right. Whenever it's working, the title is Dawson and Dawson. I got all into that. So, any other questions? So I'm really sorry. Like, it's a mouthful, and I just recorded it. So just write that down on a piece of paper. Dawson and Dawson on brand new tube. And I went into all the child sex trafficking and brainwashing and that whole story. And again, I couldn't tell you now anyway because we'd be thrown off of YouTube. How do you find entropy? Oh, well, I have we got a video about that.
Loud Agreed Martin, proud producer and proprietor, patriotic projectile
Hey
party
everybody,
poppers.
Pug here.
Got
This
some
is a
uppity
quick
brown people.
tutorial on how to use entropy chat where everything's not so censored as it is in YouTube. You click the entropy link, which we post in chat quite often, and it will take you to this page where you've got the regular chat and then you've got the entropy chat in bold. So it includes everything that's in the regular chat, but then there's also super chats and a separate layer of chat in here that's not as censored. And of course you can watch the stream live too, so you don't have to have YouTube open at the same time or anything like that. So you just click sign in with YouTube and then your account, and now you're signed in. And if you have Google Pay set up to do a super chat, all you do is click one of these, select the amount that you want to send, type your message, click pay, and it will be totally set up already. If you don't have one set up yet, then it'll let you put in your credit card info. And also, if you don't want to log in with Google, you have the option of creating a new account through Entropy, where you would simply use an email address, and you go to register here. But so that's pretty much it. It's fairly easy to work. Let me know if y'all have any questions about that, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the more free speech friendly chat. Hey everybody, Pug here. This is a quick tutorial on how to use entropy chat where everything's not so censored as it is in YouTube. You click the entropy link, which we post in chat quite often, and it will take you to this page where you've got the regular chat and then you've got the entropy chat in bold. So it includes everything that's in the regular chat, but then there's also super chats and a separate layer of chat in here that's not as censored. And of course you can watch the stream live too, so you don't have to have YouTube open at the same time or anything like that. So you just click sign in with YouTube and then your account, and now you're signed in. And if you have Google Pay set up to do a super chat, all you do is click one of these, select the amount that you want to send, type your message, click pay, and it will be totally set up already. If you don't have one set up yet, then it'll let you put in your credit card info. And also, if you don't want to log in with Google, you have the option of creating a new account through Entropy.
The globalist Luciferians and their Islamist supplicants are pouring across the borders of several Western nations, including our own. The thrust of their zeal threatens to violate the sovereignty of our way of life, but we can never let it threaten our bodies. Presenting Homogard, a male chastity phallic blocker. It's designed to prevent any jihadi penetration to your rectum while applying moderate pressure to the prostate gland to promote your masculine vitality. Homogard. It is also equipped with an array of nodes to detect the brain activity of any potential Wahhabi salami near you, which will silently alert you with a subtle vibration. Oh my god! This is a true breakthrough in health and defense, but don't take my word for it.
HomeGuard made me feel safe, but I'm insecure in a whole nother way now. I never knew just how many Wahhabi terrorists were near me all the time. Thanks, HomeGuard. It's not a stretch of the imagination that our own bodies are under threat of an invasion, because HomeGuard has stretched out far more than that for me.
We can and will defeat the globalist scum on the home front, but we need to make sure we're well protected around back. HomeGuard.
Hi, is this the line for free helicopter rides?
The globalist Luciferians and their Islamist supplicants are pouring across the borders of several Western nations, including our own. The thrust of their zeal threatens to violate the sovereignty of our way of life, but we can never let it threaten our bodies. Presenting HomeGuard, a male chastity phallic blocker. It's designed to prevent any jihadi penetration to your rectum while applying moderate pressure to the prostate gland to promote your masculine.
Anyway, I was looking for the Pato's the Pizza commercial. I couldn't find that either. HomeGuard is a pretty good one too, though. I'll find them for the next stream. They're pretty funny. So whenever brand new tube is up again, I'll have that. I think I may have recorded that show on my PC, so I can throw it on BitChute as well. Core YG, or Corey G, I guess. Is Final Judgment worth the read, or is there any other book you would recommend? Thanks. If you're good at get Final Judgment, the 6th edition. Don't get the 1st edition. Get Final Judgment, the 6th edition. That is a nice place to start on the JFK assassination. Definitely worth the read. Michael Collins Piper. Are there others? I would, of course, there are other books I'd recommend, but I mean, there's a lot on JFK. I think I've got James D'Eugenio's book behind me, signed. I've got a whole bunch of JFK stuff anyway. But definitely get Final Judgment. Like, that's the first one that really to really pipe up the Israeli connection was Michael Collins Piper and Final Judgment. 6th edition is the one you want, though. And I think Patrick Little's actually like footnoted the whole thing, and he's got like a wiki of JFK stuff that you might be interested in. So, and the location for that, if you go to ANC Report and listen to the kill stream, he gives out where you can find that, which I can't do because this is YouTube and you know censorship and rules and such. But I can tell you where it tells you to get it. It's the best I can do. I would definitely get that book though, if you don't have it. People are going off on Alex Jones. Yeah, he's terrible. So someone just said, so Israel killed Kennedy. Ah, the noobs. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go find all that stuff if there aren't any further questions. If you got any questions, you gotta put them in entropy. Even if you don't pay, you still gotta put them in entropy. Bully Bill did a free one asking, is it a coincidence that the war on terror went to countries that didn't have a central bank, a Fed, payment didn't work, can I get you next time? That's actually a bullshit meme. Most of the countries that were attacked did have a central bank or some sort of Federal Reserve equivalent. So I know they'll be like, oh, look, Libya, Iraq, they all didn't have central banks. Not true. Almost all of them did. It has nothing to do with why they were attacked. They got attacked because it was in Israel's interest to do so. Rolf Pedersen says, new territory. Thanks for the work. Corey G says, appreciate it. Corey, I wish I could answer your question better. But, I mean, yeah, get Final Judgment, 6th edition. Tone Balone is the... I really wish I had a link, but I can't get brand new tube to open right now. So, they're probably getting slammed, especially after the stream we did yesterday. That was a big no-no. Fire Pixie says he wants to say that guy was definitely on the autism spectrum. You did a great job, Ryan. I think that's being overused. Everyone's saying this guy or that guy is autistic or on the spectrum. I know what you're saying. It's funny as a joke, but autism is a very serious affliction. But they don't have theory of mind, can't look you in the eye, scared of loud noises. It's a real handicap, and it's become to be just anybody who's sort of obsessive compulsive or a bit of a nerd or shy or just an introvert is autistic. No, they're just introverted. That's way different than having autism. What are your thoughts on the belief of voting does not matter? Voting didn't matter. They wouldn't spend billions of dollars to manipulate your vote. Obviously, it does matter. Voting's about damage control. You can say it doesn't matter in the sense of a U.S. presidential election where it's this Zionist versus this other Zionist, so who cares? But it certainly matters on referendums. That's how they legalized marijuana in 26 states, was through voting. It certainly matters on your local elections and on your state elections. And it matters in the primaries. It's just everyone waits to the last moment where the primaries have already been decided, and they're like, oh, I don't like these two choices for president. Meh. Well, that's your fault for not participating earlier. Sometimes people win a primary with as little as 700 votes. So if you got organized and went out there and voted, you could have had a Tulsi Gabbard or someone like that, but you didn't, so you don't, and now you're stuck with Biden and Trump. A lot of people supported Ron Paul, and the media went out of its way to sabotage him, saying racist newsletters and wouldn't report it even when he won and so on, because they wanted to suppress the vote. And they want you to think it doesn't matter if you vote or not, so that you give up and stop voting because you're the kind of person they don't want voting. But it does matter. Even when they cheat, they don't have to cheat unless you vote. Because then they got to go change the votes or whatever. Always force a dictatorship to act like one. And if you lose by forfeit because you don't participate, they don't even have to cheat because they are going to vote. Right? I like what Plato said. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he said those who refuse to vote end up being ruled by those who do. Those who don't participate in democracy end up ruled by those who will. If you don't participate, then you're at the mercy of what all the other people are doing. And these cults, the Republicans and Democrats, they do vote. Adamantly so, and you're going to get stuck with them forever. It's all about damage control. Obama, as bad as he was still better than McCain. And Trump, as bad as he is, still better than Hillary. And I'd say better than Biden, too. But nothing to get excited about. It's not like a Ron Paul president or something. It's just Trump. But it's... if you don't vote and you let the left win, they're going to end up with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. If you think you're in a nightmare now, you have no idea what a nightmare is. Because they'd start a war with Syria, a full-on ground troops, probably conflict with Russia. It could get a lot worse. And the economy would be worse than 2008 under Obama and Biden. You'd have just Biden. And we wouldn't be able to survive it. It would be like the Depression and COVID at the same time. These mask-wearing nincompoops. So yeah, you should vote, but you should vote for good people, even at a protest. But the one that matters the least is the presidential one. What matters the most are your local elections. That's what actually affects your life the most. Your local taxes, your zoning laws, how you can conduct a business, the particular regulations in your area. That affects the way you live, whether you're aware of it or not. Your public school and so on. That's what you need to get involved of is the people in your own yard more than the federal government. You have a 1 out of 300 millionth of a voice. So yeah, it's pretty insignificant, but it matters a lot in your, for your county commissioners or your mayor or something like that. So that's where you should be putting more of your efforts. Let's see. Jeff asks, how much for a signed copy of separation of business and state? Currently impossible because I cannot get them shipped to myself because of the virus. So I only have like the 2 I own, and those are mine, to sign. But in the future, if that's available, I will order a bunch and sign them. You'd have to pay for the book, and you'd have to pay for shipping from Japan. So whatever that is, that's about what it would cost. Elon Musk says, that all depends on where you live and all too. But I think he kind of doesn't put up with the shit that doesn't make sense for America. So out of the two, less Zionist tool than Biden. I don't know if he's less Zionist than Biden. They're both Zionist, like as much as you can be. Trump's a little less insane on economic restrictions and restrictions on free speech. That's why he's better than Biden. But they both suck. I mean, Trump couldn't find money for his wall. He needed $5 billion. He gave $4.9 billion to Israel. Just cut all the aid to Israel and spend it on America. Build a wall. You could build a brand new wall every year for what you give away to Israel every year. That's $490 billion in a decade. That's insane. That they just give away to Israel. That's more than what they spend on most of their own states. They gave away more money to Israel than they spent on the entire state of West Virginia last year. And West Virginia is part of the United States. They gave more money to Israel than they're spending on the hurricane cleanup right now. They're looking for money in the budget to help Americans that were severely damaged by these recent hurricanes, with more on the way. But they sent billions of dollars to Israel so a settler could build a house on top of a Palestinian. Sickening. And that's never going to break until the media starts reporting it. And the media is not going to report it because they're all owned by Zionists. All of them. That's why we have to build up new media, like this channel, small as it is, has done damage to them, and I will continue to do so. And the more you support me, the more we grow, the more co-hosts and tech whizzes and stuff I can add, the higher we can expand, the more people I can hire, the larger the network gets, and the more our voice gets out there, then we start turning things around. But until we take back or become new media, we have no chance. The media is the way to the lemmings. And the only way to reach the lemmings is to have a large media presence. If we can break the media monopoly, then Jeff Zucker and Mark Zuckerberg and all the familiar echoing small hat lunatics that protect the Israeli state they can just ignore them. No one's going to listen to Twitter or Facebook or CNN or Fox or any of that anymore. They're going to get their news from people who have a reputation for telling them the truth and telling it like it is, and prudence will prevail. It costs a lot less to tell the truth than it does to constantly lie. It costs millions of dollars to lie to you over and over again every day, which is the only way a lie can be sustained. It costs in the thousands for me to tell you the truth every day, which stands on its own. You hear it once, it can't be reversed. That's how and why we are going to win this within my lifetime. Israel's done. Just like the Soviet Union, it's just going to overnight collapse. When enough of the world knows what they do, it's inexcusable behavior. They exist because they are a parasite and they blackmail politicians. That's why we're pushing so hard on one of the most prominent blackmail rings, which was the Maxwell Epstein Syndicate, because it goes straight to Les Wexner and Edgar Bronfman and a dozen other Jewish billionaires, and this is going to be their downfall. LF33 said, here's some support, Rye. Did you see the story I texted you about the Beirut ladies? I did not. Where did you text me that? Did you text my wife's Twitter? Let's see. Yeah, I can't get brand new YouTube to open. That sucks. Let's see what's going on with the Beirut ladies. I don't have any messages here. Maybe you're talking about Line or something. That's another one I'm on. I don't have my phone with me. Anyway, I will go check out the story, though, about what's going on. I know that people were like, they heard fighter jets and stuff in Beirut. and Israel did bomb Beirut with fighter jets. So that is wholly separate from the ammonia explosion in their warehouse. But aside from that, Israel has been attacking Lebanon, and they attack Syria too. They want to destroy Hezbollah so they can go all the way up to the Lani River in Lebanon and annex all the territory in between and add it to Israel. They tried to do it in 2006 and failed. Hezbollah beat that ass because Israel soldiers are not used to fighting people who have more than slings and throwing rocks. When they actually had to come against a force, a fifth its size, but had some guns and tow missiles and whatnot, they ran away scared, pissing and shitting in their diapers. The only army in the world that wears diapers is the IDF. They call them the Israeli Diaper Force. And you can see them literally pissing themselves even before they even get on the bus to go to northern Israel to fight Hezbollah. Because it's compulsory service, so not everybody should be a soldier, obviously. But they force all the men to do it anyway. And a lot of them just don't belong there and have a proper conniption fit when they had to actually fight in a war where there was a risk. So a lot of them pee and pooed themselves. So you can call the Israeli army the stinky army because they piss and shit themselves in fear, even though they talk a big game. And that Krav Maga is not going to do anything, and they just did not want to fight an enemy that could fire back. And I just sit there watching video after video of these grown men crying and like hugging onto poles with other guys trying to pull them onto the bus, and they don't want to go because they're scared. And it's like, well, maybe you should stop fucking with people. Then you wouldn't need to have a standing army all the time to protect the stuff you stole. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. I got to bounce, but I thank you, everybody. LF33, Fire Pixie, P-Jet Pedal. He says, thanks for clarifying it, Rye. I've been on the fence on that. I missed that one, sorry. Rolf Peterson, Corey G, Tone Balone, True Grit, Jeff Goldblum, Brett Enon Muss, Cecil Burns, Contrarian Sumerian, Horsecock Johnson, Sean Price, Spud McKenzie, and Fire Pixie. You guys are all Kyle Rittenhouse level. Awesome. I think he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. Instead of Trump, give it to Kyle Rittenhouse. And I will see you guys on the other side. Have a good one. Peace.